Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host Brett Murphy, and for today's video it is going to be another brand new movie review. And I am going to be discussing Jurassic World Dominion. So Jurassic World Dominion is the third Jurassic World film and the sixth Jurassic in general film. And this is the first one we have had in 4 years. As far as I'm aware, this is supposed to be it. The end of the Jurassic World Trilogy and the end of the Jurassic Saga as a whole. And hype has been steadily building for years now. So the question on everyone's mind this weekend is, does it deliver? Well, we're about to find out. Of course, as always with my new movie reviews, this will be 110% spoiler free, so you can proceed with confidence. Before I hop into the actual review itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my new movie reviews, so be sure to check that out and I guarantee you'll find something you like. And so, without further ado, let's hop right into things. So the first thing up on my positives list is the thing that everyone goes to these movies to see, and that is the dinosaur stuff. Because all in all, the dinosaur stuff in this movie is pretty darn good. You have some truly exciting and thrilling chase sequences, some genuinely intense hold your breath kind of moments, and some surprisingly solid horror-themed moments in there as well. But when it comes to these Jurassic movies, the main thing that people want to see is the Jurassic part of it all, the dinosaurs. And this movie definitely has a lot of that, and the vast majority of it is great. Next up is the visual effects, because the visual effects in this movie are some of the best in the industry. In fact, in the Jurassic World Trilogy as a whole, the effects have been top-notch. It is no different here. This is a big budget movie and the big budget was put to good use. But on the flip side of that, this has got to be the most practical effects I have seen in a Jurassic movie since the original. Yeah, that's right folks, they brought back a massive healthy helping of practical effects into this final installment. We've got some animatronics, I think there's some puppet work in there, a lot of the old tricks that they used in the original, and it all looks absolutely phenomenal. The next item up on my positives list, and this is one that I already knew was going to be a positive heading into this movie, and that is Michael Giacchino's score. He composed all 3 of these movies, taking in elements from John Williams' original iconic score, as well as blending in some modern stuff and of course his own unique style, and once again the man absolutely delivers. And sadly, we have already arrived at my final positive for this movie, and that is the main cast that we have on offer. Because one of the biggest selling points and one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, that people are actually excited to see this movie is the fact that the original 3 from the first Jurassic Park movie, being Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum, are all returning. And they're not just brief little cameos, they're actually in the movie as main characters, alongside the return of Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. I thought the 5 of them were magnificent, both together and on their own journeys. And surprise, surprise, Jeff Goldblum is definitely the standout. Pretty much every scene he had me laughing. I can't say much for the new characters, especially here in the positives, because there's really only one good new character, and that was DeWanda Wise. I just thought she was super charismatic and a total badass. And now for the negatives, and I am extremely sad to report as a big fan of the Jurassic franchise that there are a plethora of negatives with this movie. First and foremost is that this movie is just way too damn long. The whole final hour I was checking my watch non-stop. It is the longest in the franchise, clocking in at 2.5 hours, which is at least 20 minutes longer than the second longest. And don't get me wrong, I am someone who likes long movies. Pretty much all of my favorite movies are like 2.5 hours or longer. But for this movie, they just didn't have the content to fill out that runtime and keep me interested throughout. The next negative is that this story is needlessly convoluted. Look, all we wanted to see is what was promised at the end of the second movie and in the marketing for this movie: dinosaurs in our world. That is literally all that we wanted, just to see dinosaurs coexisting with us rather than on a secluded island. And instead we get this whole plot about locusts eating up our crops and human extinction and corporate espionage and human genetic splicing, some new giant evil corporation we've never heard of before. Basically just a whole bunch of filler bullshit. And the only time we actually get to see what we were promised with the dinosaurs in the human world is a newsreel at the beginning of the movie and then a montage at the end of the movie. Everything else is in a secluded location once again. If you see that as a spoiler, then my apologies. I know I promised it would be spoiler free, but I'm just trying to help you manage your expectations here. My next negative is that there are a ton of random new characters that I did not care for at all. And that is because they all had basically no personality and they felt more like plot devices than actual characters. And even some of the other returning ones like Justice Smith felt like hollow shells of their former selves that were only there for the money and didn't actually want to be there at all. Yeah, sure, Justice Smith in particular did annoy me in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, but I would have taken that version of the character over the version that we got in this, who basically just mumbled through his lines in a monotone voice. Next up is the exposition, because this movie is extremely exposition heavy. There are a ton of just massive verbal diarrhea exposition dumps that explain plot elements and backstory elements and a whole bunch of other nonsense. Not to mention, this movie is absolutely littered with plot conveniences. Pretty much anything our characters need, whether it's an object or a person or whatever, just so happens to be right there, or so easily accessible, or pops up in the nick of time. I know that's something that's pretty common in these Jurassic movies, but it felt extremely overboard in this one. Like, essentially a near constant thing. Our heroes really didn't have to work for anything in this movie at all. Everything just kind of popped up for them. And my second to last negative is that this movie has an extremely weak villain. I know for the most part people will see the dinosaurs as the villain, like the Indominus Rex, and the dinosaurs are actually better villains than the majority, actually all of the human villains in these movies. He's played by Campbell Scott, who's typically a pretty solid actor, but it felt like he was trying to do his best Jeff Goldblum impression in this movie, if Jeff Goldblum kept forgetting his lines and had no confidence at all. And my last and final negative with this movie is just a ton of little nitpicks that I had. You get the typical, like, sneaky Rex style stuff, where T-Rexes just pop out of nowhere, like, you know, they aren't giant walking skyscrapers where in other scenes the ground is shaking when they move. A metric ton of nonsensical character and even dinosaur decisions, and other little things too, like so many scenes in this movie. I pointed out to my brother, who I went to see the movie with, how in one frame the characters would have a weapon, like a gun or a knife or a taser. The next second they wouldn't have it. Their hands would be empty. The next second they would have it again. The next second they wouldn't. They just kept popping in and out like there was no continuity at all. And there was just so many little nitpicks that I had with this movie throughout its entire massive runtime. At the end of the day, I didn't hate this movie, and I think the reviews are a bit harsh, to be honest. Because this movie is absolutely getting bombarded with negative reviews, and I truly don't feel that it is awful, or as bad as many of the reviews say it is. I guess what it really comes down to is what you personally are looking to get out of the movie. If you're looking to see typical dinosaur stuff, and the old cast returning in big roles, and just a turn your brain off, have fun kind of time, then I think you might actually have an okay time. But if you're looking for any sort of thought-provoking or meaningful story, intelligent characters, or the main thing that was promised of dinosaurs in our world, then you are going to be disappointed. And so, I am going to be giving Jurassic World Dominion a 6 out of 10. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my review. And of course, be sure to let me know what you would have scored Jurassic World Dominion out of 10. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you'd like to see more content, consider subscribing to my channel and ringing that little bell icon. That way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. And that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you. And while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.